Here with me is a 28-point plan, which was allegedly prepared by the United States and Russia and passed on to Kyiv. Volodymyr Zelensky confirmed that he received the plan and that Ukrainian authorities are reviewing it. Now let's review it together. The plan starts with Ukraine's sovereignty will be confirmed. By whom? Ukraine's sovereignty is already confirmed by Ukraine and its Western partners and indeed international community. It is expected that Russia will not invade neighboring countries and NATO will not expand further. Now, here are Moscow's demands to NATO, not only to Ukraine, which will continue in this plan, including if NATO agrees not to station troops in Ukraine. It then goes into Ukraine will receive reliable security guarantees. Now, mind you, Ukraine already received security guarantees as per the 1994 Budapest Memorandum, which guaranteed its sovereignty and territorial integrity in return for Ukraine giving up the third world's largest nuclear arsenal. The size of the Ukrainian armed forces will be limited. This is something that Russia has been insisting upon since the very beginning of the full-scale invasion, wording it as demilitarization of Ukraine. Following in the same category is demand about European fighter jets not to be stationed in Ukraine and instead to be stationed in Poland. Russia will be reintegrated into the global economy. The lifting of the sanctions will be discussed and agreed upon. This is, of course, Russia's biggest demand, specifically given the latest tough sanctions by the United States and Trump administration on Lukoil and Rosneft. There is an interesting part regarding the frozen assets. So, according to this leaked plan, $100 billion in frozen assets, frozen Russian assets, will be invested in US-led efforts. And the US will receive 50% of the profit from this venture. Now, this is something that the European Union clearly will have a lot to say about. Russia also promises to enshrine in law its policy of non-aggression towards Europe and Ukraine. Not only Ukraine now, but also Europe and the European countries. Let's go to the territorial concessions here. Crimea, Luhansk and Donetsk will be recognized as de facto Russian, including by the United States. How can the United States now recognize them de facto and not de jure? Now, this is a big question, but clearly something that Moscow has been pushing upon. Kherson and Zaporizhia regions will be frozen along the line of contact. Russia does not control any region of Ukraine in its entirety. Now, the biggest presence and the biggest occupation in terms of the percentage of the territory that Russia has currently in Ukraine is Luhansk region. When it comes to Luhansk and Donetsk regions, known together as Donbas, this is not the area that Russia has been trying to occupy since the beginning of the full-scale invasion in 2022. This is something that Moscow troops have been trying to occupy since 2014, for over 10 years now. One of the most important points in this alleged plan that was leaked on Thursday, all parties involved in this conflict will receive full amnesty for their actions during the war and agree not to make any claims or consider any complaints in the future. In which case, Russian forces and Russian authorities are trying to completely justify everything that their troops done in Ukraine, starting from the very first atrocities discovered when it came to the occupation of the Kyiv region, which lasted for a month, and the atrocities and revelations which the world saw when it comes to the liberation of Bucha, Irpin, and the rest of the Kyiv region, when it comes to the liberation of the Kharkiv region and the torture of the civilians and the sexual violence by Russian forces. Now, Ukrainian authorities did not say whether they are going to reject it or whether they're going to accept it. They do say that they're going to review that and they're going to engage in the dialogue. But clearly, some of these points are a no-go for Kyiv.